Alright, I figured we would just go down this country road and just kind of ride slow so that cuts down on the wind noise and the bike noise. Hopefully you can hear my voice pretty good. And we'll just do a bit of a slow ride today down to the end of this paved road where it turns into gravel, and then turn around and come back just to keep the bike clean. And we'll just talk about the bike a little bit. So I figured I'd talk a little bit about why I bought this bike. A couple of reasons really. One, when I was younger and growing up, I had most of the Japanese bikes. The Hondas, Yamahas, Suzukis, but I never ever had a Kawasaki. Another reason is, if I had a favorite color, it would be green. Maybe not quite lime green, but around that color. And then the last thing is, my older brother, I'm the youngest of 6 kids, but the brother that was closest to me in age, so my older brother, he died in a car accident a long time ago. In 1997, I was 22 years old, and Kawasaki was his favorite dirt bike. So I guess for those reasons I bought this bike. Never had one before, always wanted one. Kind of like the color, and it was my brother's favorite bike. I also wanted a bike. I didn't want a big bike. Didn't want one of those big adventure bikes that weighed, 400, 500, 600 pounds. I wanted a smaller bike that was more maneuverable, and something that would work good going around town, going back and forth to work. Unfortunately, just a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks after I bought this bike, where I work, the management team said no more parking bikes or cars or trucks, personal vehicles inside the compound. So I'd have to park the bike off-site, 2-3 minute walk away. And I work 10-hour shifts, so surely by the time I got back, this bike would be stolen, it'd be gone. So unfortunately I can't ride it to work right now. Maybe that'll change down the road, or maybe when I retire I can use it then, I don't know. But I still use it to bum around town and do errands, go get some small groceries, things like that. And it works really well for bumming around town. And I guess it kind of depends on what kind of bike you want. So I want like a smaller, lighter bike so I can do off-road trails and off-road roads, still bum around town. And this bike works perfectly for that. It's still about 310 pounds when it's fully fueled up and all of that. So if you dump it on the trail, especially if you're on a hill, it's still a bit of a beast to pick up and manage, but it's a lot easier than a 400, 500, 600 pound adventure bike. So that's kind of the reason I bought the bike. A couple other things I might want to talk about in this review is the fuel range. So most of the bike riding I do, if you watch my other videos, is just kind of off-road, backcountry roads, trails, and I've got to about 160 kilometers, sorry, 155, 160 kilometers before the fuel light comes on, the little orange fuel light down here, and it blinks fuel, fuel, fuel on the dash here. And then I've usually gone about 10 or 15 more kilometers to get back to the truck. And it's continued to run. So, and then when I brought it back into town and fueled it up, it seems like there's still 2 or maybe even 3 liters left in the tank. So you could probably get 200 210 kilometers before it runs dry. I've only gone 170 myself, so I can only say for sure that. But I bet you could get 210 kilometers out of it before it runs dry. So that's the kind of fuel range you're looking at. What kind of speed are you going to get out of this bike? Well, if you look back at my past videos a couple of months ago, I did a top speed highway run with this thing, and I got it up to 134 kilometers an hour. Probably could have squeezed another 2 or 3 kilometers out of it. So I would say top speed of this stock factory, without doing any kind of tuning or anything, probably 135, 136 kilometers an hour, which is probably about 85, 86 miles per hour. And so there's the dirt road, so we'll turn around here and we'll go back. And so if you back that up to, like, say 110 kilometers an hour, 75, 80 miles an hour, you could probably the bike would probably do that for hours and hours. You probably wouldn't be very comfortable doing that for hours and hours, because it's just kind of vibrating the whole time. So, but if you wanted to do that for a half hour, an hour and a half, you could, totally. And if you were okay with taking breaks, you could go longer. The tires it comes with, stock, are the Dunlop D605s. I would say they're probably 70% on-road tire, 30% off-road. So if you do mostly on-road riding, around town, that kind of stuff, highway, and you do a little bit of backcountry roads, just kind of gravel roads, some light trail riding, those tires would probably work just fine for you. But if you do anything more serious than that, you probably want to buy some more aggressive off-road tires. I had put on the Dunlop D606s. They're quite a bit more aggressive, quite a bit more dirt bikey, and they work quite well on dirt trails. Back tire works good on gravel, front tire's okay on gravel. I might switch out to to another tire, the Pirelli, I think it's MT1 or something like that, for a gravel ride. I'm not sure, but for now I'm going to stick with the Dunlop D606s. So I guess if you do a little more aggressive off-road riding, probably switch them out to something like that. I also had the foot pegs switched out. The stock foot pegs are quite a bit small. They work, but they're just small, so I put on some bigger foot pegs. I also put on this quad lock phone holder for that, and I bought the vibration dampener, I should say. So that works quite well. I also didn't like the stock exhaust sound. It was just a bit too quiet for me. I initially wanted to put on the FMF Q4, but apparently it doesn't work for this bike. The dealership told me it would, so they ordered it. I paid for it. Then when it came in, they called me back and said, actually, this is actually for the off-road version of this bike, the KLX 300R. So it won't fit this bike, the street legal bike. So they found me the Yoshimura slip-on pipe, said that would work for this bike. So they ordered that. I paid the little bit of difference, and then they paid for the install just because it was a bit of their mess up. So they installed it for free, which is nice of them. It's a little bit louder than I wanted, so I got to be careful I don't ride it early in the morning or late at night, because I don't want to tick off my neighbors. But it's a nice sound. So yeah, if you're looking for a bike that's just kind of for around town, short rides on the highway, small and maneuverable, good for off-road trails, stuff like that, I would definitely buy this bike. But if you're looking for something that's going to do a lot more highway riding, I wouldn't do that. And I'm not much into that anyways. I'm just going to pull over and let this lady pass by just because I'm going a bit slow. I'm not much into highway riding, so this is not like a Harley. It doesn't have a lot of juice like that, but it's still pretty good. Like if you want something that's going to have enough juice to get you around town, back and forth to work, stuff like that, this will do it, and you'll have a lot of fun on it, especially in the city. And it's got certainly enough power and juice to have some fun in the city, and then also out in the country on the back roads and the trails. But my wife is not into bikes at all, so I can't buy a Harley or a Spider or anything like that and take her out on the highway or do any kind of trips. So this is perfect for me for what I kind of want it for. Alright, we're heading back into the city now, or almost. Yeah, maybe talk about doubling. Can you double on this bike? You can. It does have foot pegs for a rear passenger, but it's not really meant for that. So I would say if you're a smaller person, if you're kind of small and not very heavy, you know, if you're like a guy that's 150, 160 pounds, and you want to throw a small kid on the back, weighs like 80 pounds or 100 pounds, it would probably be okay for that around town. Or if you have a small woman, you know, that's 130 pounds or something, it'll still bottom out a little bit. But you know, if you want to go to the store or something, you could do that. But it's not really meant for doubling. The the seat height for this thing, I think if I remember right, it was 35.2 inches. So for me, this guy came up on my rear end pretty quick here. But we're just entering the city now, so it's 50 kilometers an hour. Anyways, for me, I'm 5'7". I have short, stubby legs, so I was a little concerned about the seat height of this thing. It was a bit of a stretch when I tried it in the showroom. But the sales guy said, you know what, let's just set the sag so it's right for you. So basically what the sag is when you sit on the bike, it sags down. So if you set it right, it'll sag down a little extra, a little bit more than factory. And that worked. So I can get on and off this thing no problem. And when I stop at a stop sign or a stoplight, I don't even have to slide my butt off the seat at all. I could stay in the middle of the seat. Bike can stay completely upright, and I can get the first half of one of my feet down to a stable platform and stay perfectly fine at a stoplight or stop sign. So I would say if you're 5'9" or taller, this bike is perfectly fine for you. If you're 5'8", 5'7" or shorter, it'll still work. Just might have to set the sag a little bit. But honestly, even if you didn't do that, you'll get used to it, this bike. You'll get used to everything. It'll be fine. So yeah, other than that, I'm not sure what else to say for this review. it's a good bike. And if you're looking at it, I would definitely get it. Now this bike is going to go into winter storage here in the next few days. And then I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the channel over the winter. I got a few ideas. So I'll probably make another video here in the next few weeks, couple of weeks, 3 weeks. And talk about what we're going to do with the channel over the winter until we can get this thing out in 7 months in the spring. So watch for that video. And other than that, I'll get this thing home and park it, put it into winter storage in a couple of days. So until next spring, this will be the last video with the bike, and we'll see what we do over the winter. And like I said, I'll put out a video on that over the next few weeks. But yeah, I mean, you can see I can put my foot down just no problem, and I'm not sliding off the seat at all or anything like that, so it works well for me. Alright, I'll see you when we get home. I just realized that I forgot to talk about brakes and suspension. Although there's not much I can say about them. I'm not much of a, guru when it comes to biking and stuff like that. But the suspension seems to be okay for me for what I do. I know it's adjustable, so if it's not right for you, you can certainly adjust it. But it seems to be okay for me. Brakes as well, they're disc brakes, and they work for what I need them to do. So I would just say in general, for just general riding around town, general trail riding, back country road riding, your brakes and suspension are going to work. And like I said, the suspension is adjustable as well. You can hear that whining or humming of the tires. I'm going to pull the clutch in so you can hear it. That is the sound of those Dunlop D606s, the dirt biking tires. They're quite a bit louder on the pavement than the Dunlop D605s. So if you do switch over to the D606s, just keep that in mind. They're a little bit louder on the pavement. Boy, listen to that exhaust. What do you think? You like that better than mine? I don't know. That's a pretty sweet sounding car. Crap, that car is loud.